So, in this session, we're going to answer a couple of questions that you tribe members tossed at us earlier, right? These were questions that came up on Twitter. And this was also the original intent for this 50-minute session. This 50-minute session is designed to help remove inertia. Often we have a vision, there's inertia. And the inertia could be that we have a mindset problem. Maybe it's perseverance, maybe it's lack of motivation, maybe we have difficulty keeping up to habits. I know I have that problem as well sometimes, depending on the goals I'm going for. Ronan, who was here in the audience, asked a couple of important questions, which I know you guys want to answer, such as if we're looking at 12 things, what happens to the concept of singular focus?
Right.
Or how do we execute flawlessly day in and day out, even during those days when we feel dark or negative or just freaking lazy? So this is what we're going to be addressing in this conversation. And the same Twitter rules apply. If you go to @Vishen on Twitter, you can reply to that message with your questions for John and Missy Butcher. And you can also see what other questions people are asking.
All right, thanks,
John,
bro.
would you like to kick it off?
Okay, here we go. So how we're going to frame this up is in our second level class, our mastery class, we've got 5 modules, all designed to help you execute on your life vision. I'm going to take you through these concepts as quickly as I can. I'm hoping to keep it to 20, maybe 25 minutes so we can have times for questions afterwards. But if you just write down these 5 things, you can go home and, I mean, we spend a year in Lifebook Master, we spend a year working on these things and executing in an accountability program. So where this starts is it starts with your life vision. After you go through Lifebook, you've dialed in your life vision across 12 categories, then you roll it up into one big life vision. That's where this next program starts. So we're sort of assuming that you've got your life vision relatively dialed in. I know that some of you are still working on it. Take these notes anyway. I think that this is really going to help. So I think what I'll do first, sweetie, you have to help me with this here. Do you think I should just, here's what I'll do. I'm going to give you this list, and then we're going to go back around and we're going to just dive in a little bit to each one of these items. The first thing that we do out of Lifebook is we do an exercise called right-sizing your life vision. Right-sizing your life vision, getting it ready to build, because we want to make sure that you've set the bar in exactly the right place for you. This is super important. And there are 4 questions that you can ask yourself that if you answer yes to each of these 4 questions, you can know with a pretty high degree of certainty that you've set the bar in the right place. You set the bar too low, you're not going to feel fulfilled even if you achieve it. You set the bar too high, you're not going to achieve it. So we'll dive into that a little bit. We want to make sure that, look, the reason that we do this, why do we bother to visualize what our future could be like? Why do we do that? We're the only animal that can do that. Our brains are the only brains on the planet that can think about later in that high quality a way. And why do we do that? We do it so that we can make it happen. This isn't mental masturbation. We want to make this go. And so that's what we really focus in, making sure that you've got that bar set at exactly the right place. The second thing we take a look at is aligning your goals with your life vision. Super, super important. And we've got a nice little process for that. The third thing we do, which may be one of the most powerful things that we've ever discovered and applied to our lives, is we spend some time taking a look at your daily habits and making sure that your habits are aligned with your goals and your life vision. The 4th module is called Stepping into Your Life Vision. And that one is literally about...
It's kind of your habits in action, your daily habits in action.
And it goes even one level deeper, which are your small choices and actions that aren't even like your clearly defined habits. This is about becoming, exactly, you had this beautiful term that you came up with, Miss. This is about becoming the expression of your life vision at your core. And that's where it happens, guys. That's where this thing takes off.
And John, just one second. For those of you who are listening, please don't see this as John is talking about his program, right? That's not the point. John is talking about his approach, So see this as an approach. So I know you're using the word module, but really you're really
Right, no.
explaining an
What
approach.
we're trying
and you
to
want to
do-
write this down because you can
Yeah.
reflect upon this approach.
This is a $25,000 program we're trying to give you in 25 minutes. So and you can go home and really apply this stuff and crush it like we've seen so many people.
This is what we do.
the system
This is
works.
our, like
Okay?
Vishen said, this is
So
our
thank you
approach.
for saying that,
Yeah.
Vishen. And then the last one is simple. What you want to do on your way to moving toward from where you are now to that ultimate ideal life vision that you've created is you want to make sure you're paying attention to your results. You want to track and measure your progress so you can adjust if necessary. Because one thing we know is that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Any plan, no matter how well crafted, is going to fall apart as soon as you get into the real world, and your ability to adjust is the key. So those are the 5 things that we're going to cover very briefly, and we'll go ahead and start at the top.
Yeah.
You ready to rock?
So what are the questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to start with right-sizing your life vision. If you can answer these 4 questions with a yes after careful consideration, you can know with certainty that you've set the bar in relatively the right place. The first question is, when I look at my life vision, am I asking enough of myself? Or am I playing small? There's a big payoff for playing small because no one likes to fail, right? What if we fail? And so, I mean, a lot of people set the bar lower than they should, and that guarantees that they'll never brush up against their true potential. So you really want to ask yourself, have I set the bar high enough? Am I asking enough of myself? That's that question. Now, here's my guess. My guess is that most of you in this room probably won't have problems there. Here's the question that we run into problems with personal development people. Is this vision achievable, or am I asking too much of myself? Here's the truth. You have unlimited potential, and you also have limited potential. Both are true. So you have no idea what you're capable of. You have unlimited potential in that sense. Here's the sense that you have limited potential. You're a human being. You have limited time. You have limited resources. You have limited, there are limitations of your physical nature, and you've got to work within those limitations. Your resources are precious, finite things that have got to be deployed properly in order for you to make the best of yourself. So let's not fool ourselves that our potential is absolutely unlimited and that's the end of the story. That's half the story. So those 2 questions, am I asking enough of myself and is my life vision achievable, will ensure that you're setting the bar in pretty much the right place for you. Is that understandable so far? Cool. Okay. The next one's a big one. Am I willing to pay the price that this life vision will require? Now, this is everything comes with a price. Everything in life is a trade-off. If you decide that you're going to be a billionaire and your life vision is to create a $1 billion company, I promise you're going to be missing a few of your kids' softball games. Simple as that. Every life vision comes with a price, and the higher you set the bar, the bigger that price is going to be. And there's nothing wrong with, look, this is all completely individual to each one of us. It'll be different for all of us. But just be cognizant of the fact that the higher you set the bar, the higher that price will usually be. And so are you willing to pay the price that your life vision requires? Anything else to say about that, sweetie? Okay.
You're doing really
Jump
good.
in whenever you want to.
I think you're
okay,
awesome.
Thanks. She's my biggest fan. And here's the 4th question, and this one we added a few years in. Really interesting. Will the achievement of my life vision make me truly happy and truly fulfilled?
And not just the achievement, the journey.
To
'Cause,
get
I
there.
mean, when you say pay the price, an extraordinary life is not easy. It's not easily won. It's not easily achieved. It's a hero's journey. We talk
really
about that
is,
all the
yep.
time. There's no great person or there's no great life out there that didn't have a lot of hardship or a lot of hard work or and it's not to say that everything is hard, to get to greatness, but it's simply that there is no magic pill for this stuff, you guys. You really have to do the work.
Greatness requires great effort. It's
Yeah.
just it's
That's
total common
It's a
sense.
math equation of the universe.
So that's a good distinction, sweetie. Will the achievement of this vision and the journey on the way to this vision make me truly happy? And here's the reason that that's so important, you guys. It's because Missy and I have set goals before, and we've worked our asses off, and we've achieved those goals, and then we've looked around and said, this is what we...
Why'd we do that?
What? Really? This
Yeah.
is it? That's weird. We worked for a year on this, and it's not that cool.
Yeah.
You know? And so you don't want to be there. You don't want to... Your time and your energy and your focus and your resources are finite and they're precious, and you want to make sure you're pushing them in to the right place. Aristotle said, happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the entire aim and end of human existence. So the bottom line is this: everything we do in life is meant for one thing, to make us happy. Take a few minutes and ask yourself, will the achievement of this vision that I've set for myself make me truly happy? So that's the first thing we do after Lifebook, is we help you think through a process of, is this vision that I've set the right vision for me, or do I need to modify it? If you can answer yes to all 4 of those questions, you've pretty much dialed it in.
Yeah.
And then what that comes...
Does that help, guys?
Yeah, everyone getting that? Okay.
And again, if you have a question related to that, just reply on Twitter.
Right, okay. So what that all adds up to is a very short synopsis of your life vision. This right here, nice little cover page. There's our little beach in Hawaii. This is a synopsis, a 2-page synopsis of our ideal life. And this has been the target of all of our actions and all of our choices, all of our focus, all of our resources for the last 5 years.
But a good way to really look at your life vision is to say, okay, how do I want to live? How will a day of my life be?
Yeah.
How will I live it in that life vision?
Right.
And that can really get you into the visualization.
There's a
of it.
couple different ways to do it. This is a really nice way that we really like. Another way that you could do is just describe what that ideal life looks like, what your dream house looks like, what your level of health and fitness is, etc. But the bottom line is you want to get it down into 1 page, because then this becomes your devotional. This becomes your little meditation in the morning. This becomes you embody this, you live this, you know every word of it. This is the target of all of your actions,
So
right?
John,
Yeah.
question from Ane Patel. Ane, are you in the room? Please raise your hand. Thanks, Ane. So
Hey, brother.
Ane asks, how often do you then review this vision?
Almost every day. This little guy, this stays in my notebook. This is part of my visualization.
Him.
Yeah,
I-
Miss is different.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah. I don't look at it every day. I feel like if John does,
Yeah.
then somehow
We have a-
symbiotically I do.
Right.
So it's kind of how we
Yeah.
are. But yeah, John looks at it every day. I mean, I would say I do a deep dive into our life vision every year when we do our recalibration.
Right.
But he's on it every single day.
Yeah, and we talk about it almost every day.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot.
So John, Priyanka asks, how do I know what I really want?
Oh, Jesus.
That's a great question. You
Well,
know,
you know what? I mean, that's a hero's journey too. And all I can tell you guys is that sign up for Lifebook. I'm serious. That's what it is. What you need to do is you need to get somewhere for an extended period of time and seriously reflect
Yeah.
on
Right.
all the important areas of your life. You can do it by yourself if you can figure out how to do it, or we've got a structured process that can help you. That's,
And just so you guys know, I mean, even if you are the type of person who is really goal-driven, right? Like I was really goal-driven, I still am. But when I took Lifebook, what happens is that sometimes we are so caught up, like moving towards our goals, that we forget to assess those goals and see if those goals
So
are
true,
really
man.
right for us.
exactly.
So, I mean, when I did Lifebook with Christina, it was like 2009 to 2010. What's cool about it is you're going into like several days where you're doing nothing.
Actually,
but
5.
5 days where you're having a conversation with yourself
Yeah.
and going deliberately deep in those 5 categories. And I shared with you earlier on day 1 how I didn't have the vision for A-Fest. I didn't know what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be in this type of environment. I knew I wanted to be on stage. I knew I wanted like really cool friends. And one by one, the pieces start coming together.
Yeah.
I think there's this beautiful ability in our mind that we often don't talk about enough in scientific circles or corporate training, which is honestly the ability to manifest. Sarah Prout addressed it.
Yeah.
That's
and I
right.
think when you plant those visions in your head, incredible serendipitous synchronicities
Totally.
occur.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And it's a combination. It's a combination of intention and allowing. The universe will not give you a 12-category smart life. Ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna get that for free. You gotta bring something to the party. That's your intention.
So back to Priyanka's question, what do I do if I don't know what I want? Well, when I did Lifebook, I didn't really know what I wanted. I was in a business partnership where my business partner was like putting me down on a daily basis. I was literally on that verge of stepping out of Mind Valley, right? But I knew.
Thank God you did.
But so I didn't know what I wanted. But what I knew is that I wanted to travel. I wanted my family with me. I wanted inspiring friends. I wanted
some of
to
it.
teach on stage. I knew a little bit of those pieces. But when you start writing that down, it's like the universe comes in and starts laying out, helping you discover
Exactly.
the plan.
True.
Your intuitive radar is turned on.
Totally.
And that's what led me to A-Fest.
Amazing.
Right?
Thanks,
Amazing.
man. Okay.
Can I just say one thing about what she just asked? That we get that a lot. I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what I want. And I think that the first step in knowing what you want is knowing who you are, finding out who you are. And Lifebook is a great way to do that. But there's a lot of things you can do to discover who you are. But you have to, like Vishen and John are both saying, you have to bring consciousness to yourself, to your own feelings, to your inside. We don't do that enough in our culture now. We're all
So distracted.
external, right? Yeah.
Right.
So.
Which comes to another question, John.
Yeah.
This is from, and I hope you don't mind me.
No,
interrupting.
no,
I
I
want to
think-
get
Actually great.
people's questions
Yeah.
in because these
Absolutely.
questions are so good.
I
So
like 'em.
Sebastian is in the room. Sebastian, could you stand, please? Wave your hand.
Hey, brother.
Hey, Sebastian. So Sebastian asks us this: how do you balance allowing and action?
That's a great question. That's kind of where I was going with it. Now, this is interesting because our last 25 years have been very intentional. We've been very materialistic in a I think, a healthy sense of the word. We live on the planet Earth. We're material beings. And our last 25 years have been very much about what we want to see happen, what we want to create, moving toward the achievements that we want to accomplish with intention. Just recently, we've, in the last few years, we've sort of had a spiritual experience, not sort of, we did, and we have discovered the incredible power of allowing. It's a dance, it's a combination. Like I said, the universe will never give you a 12-category smart, extraordinary life for free. You've got to bring something to the party. You really do.
So here's an example of how we used to do stuff and how we do stuff now. This will give you a good answer to this question. Used to be, we'd bump up against an obstacle or something. It would be like we were out of flow, and we're like,
Right.
okay, what are we going to do? We're going to attack. We're going to attack, and we're going to bust through whatever it's going to.
Yeah.
We'll work hard all the way around until either we do get through or we don't.
We felt like we had to do it all on our own.
Right. So now it's like anytime we run up against that, not first defense, but it's like, okay, this isn't feeling right.
Right.
It's like we're really kind of stuck. At that point, it's like, okay, literally, we'll be like, okay, we're going to hand it over, invisible world,
Yep.
or whatever, however you want to say that.
Go give each other a massage, let it go completely,
go for a
release
couple
it
days.
100%, and it'll come back fixed.
Or at least in a better place,
Right.
or the answer. So it's like, from my experience, 2 to 3 days, if you can let it lie, if it's a big one,
Yep.
sometimes it's just the next morning. Sleep on it. You know that old saying, just sleep on it. It's a real
So
thing.
true.
Real
So
thing.
we've discovered that we live in a benevolent universe that is so happy to help us. We don't have to do it all ourselves, but we're required to do some of it.
Yeah.
So it's that beautiful dance. Okay, next one. All right,
Mm-hmm.
all right, guys. The next module that we take a look at. After you've got this dialed in, you've got your life vision, you really have your target, you've worked on it, you know it's right for you. The next thing we do is we extract what we call the foundational goals upon which that life vision rests. Define your foundational goals, and here's what that means. There will be 4, 5, or 6 goals that if you achieve those, you will be living that life vision. Like for us, to move to Hawaii, in order to move to Hawaii, we have got to automate, delegate, or eliminate everything in our work life that is not consistent with the new life we want to live. So that was an 18-month process of automating our businesses, delegating what we didn't want to run anymore. And that was one of our foundational goals. Got to be done before we are able to achieve this life vision. So what you want to do is you want to take a look at that life vision and ask yourself, what are the 4, 5, or 6 foundational goals that this vision requires. And that becomes the most important thing in your life, because if you can sit here and tell me that this is the vision that you want to achieve in your life, and these are the 5 goals on one piece of paper that are going to get you there, I'm going to be asking you why you're spending time on almost anything else. Right? Because, I mean, if you're really serious about it. So set your foundational goals, understand what they are. And then what we do after that is we drop into a regular rhythmic goal-setting system. So Missy and I set quarterly goals. At the beginning of the quarter, we take a look at what we accomplished last quarter. We take a look at our foundational goals, and we say, what do we want to bite off for the next 90 days? And I mainly handle this because it's a masculine sort of.
Because me, I look at that for that one goal, that one lever, just one.
And
it
she's
can move
awesome
a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So you can start with your foundational goals. All these things would really push my life forward.
So
but
Missy,
oftentimes there's one.
I was going to say, you're touching on a question asked by Ronan Diego. Ronan,
ahead.
are you in the room? Would you kindly stand? Ronan? Okay, Ronan is our fitness trainer. Ronan asked this. Does setting goals for 12 areas imply that the concept of the one thing, you know how
Right.
there's that great entrepreneurial book called The One Thing? Does it make the one thing obsolete?
No.
How would foundational goals address Ronan's question?
Okay, so what Missy is basically saying is you need both. You need to define the most important. You need to understand what's going to get you there. And what's going to get you there are your 5 foundational goals. And then what Miss always looks for is the highest leverage point inside of that. That's why we're such a
It'll make
team.
like 2 or 3 things fall.
Both
at
have
once.
got to
Yeah.
happen. The concept of essentialism, the concept of the one thing is incredibly important, and people like Vishen and I especially need it because we're fighting on so many fronts all the time. Entrepreneurs, this is right? And so this is basically about identifying the most important thing in your life and putting most of your energy there, and that's absolutely what you should do. There's another way to look at it, though, and it's that we're multifaceted creatures made up of these 12 different categories that we want to focus on. And we do have to focus on all of them. You can't just focus on your career at the expense of your parenting. You can't just focus on your health and fitness at the expense of your love relationship. These things need to be attended to. They're not electives, they're mandatory. You can have a great life except your health is totally jacked up, and how great is your life, right? So what it comes down to is whatever it is that you're doing, that's your one thing. Bring consciousness to it. Be there. Pay attention, really be there. If you're talking to your kids, be there. If you're having dinner with your wife, be there. If you're in a business meeting, focus on what you're doing. I really like the concept of essentialism in the one thing, and it saved my ass because I'm ADD like most other entrepreneurs. But the other areas of your life have to be attended to too. You have anything else to say about that,
I would just
sweetie?
say that like the 12 areas or however many areas you have for yourself, we have 12, they are aspects, they're just different aspects of one thing, which is which is your
Yep.
life. So it's like all these things are important, they're different aspects of you. So they're all kind of the same, if that makes sense. It's like, yeah, there's 12 of them, or there's however many,
Your one thing is your life.
and they all add up to your life. So there is really just one thing.
And I want to add something to that. Those of you who are on Mind Valley Mentoring have access to a mentoring episode I did with Ivan Meissner, right? So Ivan Meissner, he started one of the world's big networking groups, BNI International. And I asked him this question, like, how do you find balance in your life between work and running a huge company and your kids? And he said, I used to feel really guilty about that. But now I realize that balance is a myth. It's not even about balance. He says work-life balance is bullshit. It's about, rather, he said the insight came to him when he went to his son once and he said, son, I'm so sorry. I've been working so hard that I feel I've been neglecting you. And his son turned to him and goes, Dad, what the hell do you mean? And Ivan goes, I've been neglecting you. I'm not spending enough time with you. And the son goes, I've not even noticed that. And the son goes, the great thing about you, Dad, is that when you work, I know you're working on your mission. I know you're working hard. That's cool. But when you're with me, you are 100% with me.
There you
Nice.
go.
And that's all I care about.
That's nice.
And Ivan realized that he was trying to solve the wrong thing. It wasn't about work-life balance and blocking out these hours. It was about what are you truly focused on? What is that one thing? And then being with that
Beautiful.
one thing.
That's right.
That's great.
Okay, so understand the goals that are going to get you there. That's the bottom line. Take a look at that life vision and ask yourself, What are the foundational goals that I need to achieve? And then it's nice to get into a goal-setting rhythm where you've got a constant flow of good, positive achievements coming into your life based on that life vision. Make sure your goals are aligned with your life vision. That's the most important thing. This one's crazy powerful. This one's about aligning your habits with your life vision. We actually call these, in Lifebook, we define 12 of them, and we call these your 12 sacred choices. That's how big they are, because these 12 little daily behaviors are what will create you and what will define your life. And so what we do is we take a look at that life vision and we ask ourselves, what are 12 small daily actions? And I'm talking small. Drink a green drink. That's one of mine. Every day. Delight Missy. That's one of mine. Sex doesn't count. That comes naturally. Cooking does, though.
Yes.
What are the small daily behaviors that will most support this life vision and turn me into the person that lives that life? So that's
Let me say this, because I like to turn that around, because the bottom line is, whatever you do in the present moment, which is the eternal moment that we're always all in, whatever you do in this present moment is how your life ends up being. It's what turned your life into what it is, right? So that's where this whole thing, we kind of reverse engineered, starting from your goals this way. Well, how about, really, it's all about what you're doing right now, like all the time, every day. And those things are what add up to your life, ultimately your life vision, ultimately all of your goals. So this to me is like, it's the Holy Grail. It's how do you spend the hours of your days? What kind of states are you in the hours of your days, mental states,
like
emotional states?
Missy's first and probably most important, why don't you tell your first one, your gratitude ritual?
Oh.
Because that's so powerful.
So the first one on my 12 sacred choices is my morning routine. And it varies every day, but it definitely starts with gratitude. Every morning, I just center myself. I can center myself with gratitude. I can say it out loud, I can journal it, I can just talk in the mirror about all the things I'm grateful for. And when I get in that cycle, I automatically just start getting super centered and centered and centered and centered. And to the point where I'm just like, okay, I'm ready for my day. Sometimes I do yoga in that time, sometimes I work out, sometimes I journal, sometimes I take a walk with our dog outside. But the point is to get completely centered, embodied from the sleep before, in my body, grateful. What is this day going to be like? And that helps me stay in the present moment. And it
helps
also
that literally sets our whole house up. Okay.
Sets the environment for our home and
like
family.
that radiates out to me, to the kids, to everything, to our businesses. So these little daily habits are so powerful. Mine are exercise daily, have a green drink daily, connect with the kids, be a great father, delight Missy.
Study.
I study every day. I work on my one thing every day. So my first 2 or 3 hours of my morning are about my creative work. I have my coffee and I'm ready to rock. I can only write in the morning. I can't write in the afternoon. So I make sure I focus my best time on my most important thing, as opposed to email and all that stuff. Anyway, getting in touch with the habits that will most support your life vision is a massively powerful thing to do.
That's where it all
Game
happens.
changer.
And John, Missy, this basically addresses perfectly the question that Ronan asked the second question. This was about 3 hours ago. Do Missy and John have key personal daily or weekly habits that help them execute towards their vision?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I wish I would have brought my
Okay.
closer.
You covered them.
You know what we actually do? We have a list of like 30 or 40 of the most common and powerful Lifebook member habits that we should circulate at some point. I'll see if we can get so that you guys can literally pick the ones that you think are most powerful.
So John, if I may share, so after I took the advanced Lifebook and I learned about the 12 daily commitments, I basically went and got a habit tracker app. If you search for habit tracking on the App Store, there are so many really cool apps that do habit tracking. I played around with like 4 or 5 till I found one that really worked for me, and I listed the habits, right? Like, for example, daily meditation is a habit. Like Russell Simmons says, I don't do shit till I meditate. Gratitude is a habit. You make these habits.
That's right.
A healthy juice in the morning is a habit. So you write down, you choose 12. More than 12 might get overwhelming. And then you just check a dot. Like many of these apps, it's you click a button or you check a dot or you click yes, and then it tracks you. And at the end of the month, you can see how well you're doing. And the goal is not to beat yourself up if you miss something, but what I found is that by using an app like that, when I went to bed at night, I would be able to notice patterns. Like, was I skipping out on something? Was I skipping out on my healthy breakfast for too many days in a row? What do I need to do to adjust that? So it's a really powerful self-checking mechanism. But John, you have a really great quote. And I remember you saying this quote to me when I was taking the class from you. You said, if we implement the 12 habits, right? And we execute them diligently, and we make it like part of our daily life, it is mathematical certainty, like that we will reach our life
Can't
vision.
fail. You literally can't fail. And I track mine too. I track mine on paper, and Vishen's so right, you guys. Like, you can look back. If you track your habits, you can look back, and if you've had a shitty week, you'll be like, oh my God, look, that's why. Every time you're crushing it, you can look back and you're like, if you do these things, like Vishen said, you literally can't fail. So it's a really, really important part of the process.
Right. The app I recommend is Habitify. It's really easy to use. Habitify.
Okay. The fourth thing, this is a beautiful one. It's called Stepping Into Your Life Vision, and I'm going to let Miss talk about this. This is about aligning the small daily choices and actions that are not necessarily habits. This is basically how you speak to your spouse, the decisions you make at work, aligning those with your life vision, because this is where the magic really happens.
And it's basically what we were saying this earlier. When you do have that life vision, when you have that amazing vision of the life you want to live, you know, in Lifebook, it's all 12 categories. So you know how you want to feel in your body. You know how you're going to have, you know, your love relationship, your parenting, all that. So having that just on the top of your mind during the day, if I'm a little cranky or something, I'm not going to just spurt out something that would make me feel good in the moment to John, because it's not, that doesn't get me here. That's just a moment in time where I'm going to vomit on him or do something like that. Or the same way with my kids, if I'm a little edgy or something, or with anything. If you have that life vision, it's a level of consciousness that you bring to your everyday life, and you're like, you know what? That's where I'm going. That's what I want to be.
That's most important.
So why can't I just start acting that way now? Like every day, all the time. And that's really when it starts to speed up and you can really step into the daily actions, not just the habits, but the daily actions, the way you're going to show up.
The way you're going to think, the way the tiny choices. Look, once you've done this work and you have this vision, you know who you want to be that.
Yeah.
And only that. You know the kind of a life you want to live, step into that life and start living it today, and you do that.
Keep trying over and over.
Through the small daily choices and actions that you make. So
John,
it's just...
So Rick Walker. Rick, are you in the room? Could you please stand?
Hey, Rick.
Hi, Rick. So Rick asks us two really good questions. Okay. And Rick, thank you for asking two really deep, profound questions. The first question is, so what does your daily life look like?
Okay.
Rick's exact question is based on your life book. How does a normal day in the life of John and Missy Butcher look like?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we wake up early, usually, and Miss and I are usually...
If we're at home, like regular day in our life, in our house.
And we're only home half the time, so this is a regular work day. We work in our beautiful home that was designed for creativity and this type of work. We're usually separate for the first...
You get up before me.
Right,
You go down, he starts writing, he does his creative work. I usually spend some time upstairs in our bedroom. We got a nice bedroom, or I go
doing her
witchy
outside. Little gratitude spells.
Do some ceremonies first thing, and I could do that like all day long, but I don't. Maybe when I get to Hawaii. But for me, it's definitely gratitude. It's meditation. It's time in nature. It's getting my head right, and literally just getting in my body, getting centered. And then when I come out of my room or come out from inside, back in from outside, it could be anything.
But we're usually together doing work. We're on the same
I would say you have more of a structured...
Just so you can know, she's the CEO of Lifebook, and she's right now acting friggin' whatever. She's running a couple of our companies.
So it's different for me every day. I
Right.
think John has more of a structure, and I kind of flit around to all different kinds of things and put out fires. here
But
and there.
mainly we work in the morning. We'll have lunch together. I
Yeah.
take a nap every single day after lunch, and then
we come back together in the evening for our walk or
for our
bath.
walk,
And then
so on.
evening is always family time. We turn our computers off at
we're really good.
5,
We do not work past 5. We're good about that.
and we do family time, and we love watching docudramas and learn history with our kids.
Yeah.
and
So
so
hopefully
yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
kind
too
of
boring of an answer, but
yeah.
that's the deal. Okay. What's the next question?
And it's really funny how you guys stick to those routines. When I go visit them, I know that after lunch, great, I'm not
I'm
going to see
gone.
John for 2 hours.
Exactly.
He disappears from the room. I'm not sure if they're practicing category 13 or he's napping. After 5 p.m.,
Odds
boom,
are.
computers closed, no more business talk. It's really fascinating. Now, the next question from Rick is also a beautiful question. It is it best to set your life book for the next 20 years or the next 5 years?
It's up to you. We do 5. We've always done 5, and that was probably a relatively arbitrary decision early on, but it proved to work pretty well. So yeah, 5 is just
But we've actually had kind of both, because we've had our property in Hawaii for almost
17
20
years.
years.
Yeah, that's right.
So we've always known that that's on the horizon, that's coming, but we work really in 5-year increments.
5 years ago, it showed up as,
Yeah.
okay, guys, it's time for you to really
Yeah.
start figuring this out.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5 was probably relatively arbitrary, but it seems to work well for most people. Again, there are no rules in Lifebook. This is a personalized, fully customized system. We've got it very well structured, but you sort of, you can
work it.
modify it in
Yeah.
whatever way works for you.
Yeah.
Now, the next question is from Carol Butters. And Carol, are you in the room? Please stand, Carol, if you're here. Sometimes the questions come from people in the room mostly, but sometimes it's a user on Twitter who's also asking the question. So Carol asks us this: how do you fit it all in? Working on your businesses, your life book, your workouts, your art, and the everyday necessities of life. Time management is my greatest challenge. Please raise your hand if you resonate with this question.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody-
We get it,
A
you
lot of
guys.
people
Yeah,
get
we
it.
totally get it.
It's a thing that happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say we do it a number of different ways. For sure, our 12 sacred choices, that ensures that the basics get
Will
covered,
be
right?
attended to,
Yeah,
period.
for
Yeah.
sure. And truthfully, you can't do everything in one day.
Yeah, that's
you can't
right.
even you can't even cover your whole life in a week. I mean, you can do your best, and as things come up and as interests arise, or categories are like, hey, I need some help over here. It's definitely an ebb and flow. I like what you said earlier about balance is a myth. It's true. You can't always do everything all at once.
It's a moving target,
It's-
right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's an organic thing that we're doing, you
Right.
guys. We're
It's
organic,
called living life on Earth.
right? In organic forms and having this amazing experience in this soup.
But I'll
So-
tell you what the best we can do is this: structured rhythms. Structured rhythms are what ensure that you'll get
That's
to
right.
everything important. So what that means is, you can either work out whenever you feel like it in whatever combination you want, or you can have a structured rhythm of working out for X amount, whatever your deal is. And we found that structured rhythms are absolutely the way to go.
And that's not to say that like our life is super structured.
No.
It says that, look, we know that we've got to have a healthy diet. We've got to take care of our bodies. We've got to spend time with our kids. We got to have a good. There's.
Well, so let's talk
definite-
about that.
Yeah.
So
okay.
how do we have a healthy body? How do we attend to our nutritional needs? Well, we get a Vitamix, and Mrs. got a great smoothie recipe, and you start to set up your systems and processes so that you don't have to kind of reinvent everything.
And then, exactly. And then like your morning or your day, it's like there's a certain point that is kind of maybe structured. Like you're going to eat that, or you're going to drink that at that time. You're going to work out at this time. You're going to go to yoga. But then what happens is once you have those things in place, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Right.
There's a great quote about 99%. Doing something 99% of the time is really hard, but 100% is easy.
Right.
Because it's like you
Takes
don't even
away
have to think
the
about it. You
internal
do it.
debate.
Yeah, it's like just part of the process, so you just do it.
I want to just say one more thing about structured rhythms and about systems and processes. So our overnight date is our number one love relationship strategy, and that's really, really hard for a lot of people. The way to dial that in is you get your childcare figured out. You make it every week. It's Thursday. You put a system in place to ensure that that's going to happen. If it's a one-off every week, if you've got to put all that
So much
energy to make it
energy.
happen every
Yeah.
week, you're going to fail, 3/4 of the time. But if you've got it dialed in, where you know the hotel, you know the restaurant, you know the babysitter, everything's dialed in, and it's just a process that runs. Vishen, you're so good at this, systems and processes, so that you don't have to do constant one-offs all the time. That really helps. But guys, listen, it is just like Miss said, it's the way life is. We've got a lot to attend to.
Yeah.
We've got a lot. We want to achieve excellence across the board in every area of life. That's a big job.
Yeah.
And we got to kind of feel our way through it.
And you gotta just stay as conscious as you can. Be as
And
conscious as you
I
can.
just want to give you guys a tip on systems and processes, right?
Yeah.
How I did it, because right now, the reason I can take on the work that I do is because collectively Mind Valley has some 300 people
Yeah.
working on different divisions. But how it started was way back. I was working from a Starbucks, and this was 2004, and I was tracking my time. And time logging is a really cool practice to have. And I discovered that I was spending 4 hours a day doing customer support. Back then, we had a tiny site selling meditation CDs. 4 hours a day was just customer support, replying to customers. And then I measured what my hourly rate was. And what I did was I looked at how much was I earning. It was basically a one-person company. At that point, Christina was working as a volunteer for the UNHCR, so it was just me. I didn't have a business partner with me yet. And I measured and I figured out that I was making, and this is the truth, it was really tiny. It was like $13 an hour. I was making $13 an hour. Every hour I was breathing, right? So 13 times 24 is what I made on an average day. Now what I did was, knowing that my time is worth 13 hours, I looked at what was I making for the time I worked. I was working 10-hour days. So let's say it came up to $20 an hour.
$20, yeah.
Now, I got on Craigslist. Back then, Craigslist was the big site, and I searched to see what it would cost to hire a customer support agent in my city, which was Kuala Lumpur. It was $7 an hour. So I knew, okay, I'm making $20, but I can hire someone for $7. So immediately I knew to hire a person to take care of that customer support. And that was my first ever employee, Adele, right? Now that freed up 4 hours of my time. Now what did I do with that 4 hours? I did what I knew was higher leverage work. I was
Only
a
you could
programmer,
do. Yeah.
so I could code.
Yeah.
So I started coding and improving the website, optimizing our checkout, and our sales grew. And then when I got that to a certain level, I found that my hourly rate was now $50 an hour. Now I no longer wanted to code, I wanted to think strategically. So I looked, how much would it cost to hire a coder? It was $30. But now I'm making $50 an hour, so great, it made perfect sense to hire a coder. So I brought in a guy from Finland, Hanu, for $30 an hour. So using this methodology, what happened is my hourly rate started going higher and higher and higher and higher. And the team is also growing and growing and growing, and you're delegating. But what happens is now all of the stuff that you need to do gets done, but you become super disciplined and only doing what matches your hourly rate. So I now got like super disciplined for it. Yeah. So I will sometimes get a request to be on a podcast or a radio interview, and my team knows to send a simple query form to whoever is requesting the interview, and 90% of the interviews I'll say no to. Because the thing is, my hourly rate now is so high, if that podcast or that interview isn't going to generate enough traffic for that, it's just not worth my time. Fantastic. I don't need the extra publicity.
So good.
Right? So good. This is how the team grew. This is how I was able to create A-Fest, create all of these other things. And it's a really cool practice.
Thanks for sharing
You must
that,
know your hourly rate. You must outsource anything you can that you can outsource for less than your hourly rate. Don't be afraid about getting your team to grow, because if you know how to pick the right people, and that's another whole skill you got to learn, your team is going to grow. But what happens is your influence grows, your power grows, your ability to make each hour of your time magnify and create things in the world expands. And that's when your business really starts taking off.
Well, let me just say that also can apply to your personal life. Miss and I have worked with a lot of, we've worked with a lot of chiropractors, and chiropractors have the same problem. They come in overwhelmed and exhausted. They've got too much, and we discovered the same thing one year. I was like listening to these stories over and over of, geez, I get home at 7:30 and the kids are running around. We got to cook, and by the time we get done doing the dishes and putting the kids to bed, we got no time for each other. And this was the thing. And one year we realized, you know what? If you're seeing patients for a full hour, you're a $500 an hour professional. What the hell are you doing the dishes for? Instead of spending time with your wife or spending time with your kids. That same rule can be applied to your domestic life. Hire someone to mow your lawn. There's a kid out there that needs the job. He needs the $15, and you can that frees up time in your personal life, maybe for your workout, maybe for your dates. Hire someone to do your dishes. But you know what? A lot of people say, no, that's not for me. I'm not rich. I can't afford a housekeeper. We're not talking about that. We're talking about
you don't have to be rich.
Right.
Like I wasn't rich.
Exactly.
I was making $13 an hour.
Well, it's a values judgment.
Yeah.
It's a priority decision. So
Good.
the best way to achieve success in every life category is to dial it in with systems and processes as much as you can so that it takes on an automatic quality as opposed to you having to expend a tremendous amount of energy output every single day.
Set up your days. But that brings us to our last point, which is calibration.
Yeah. The last point, the last thing we take a look at is on your way to your life vision, as you're setting your goals that are aligned with your life vision, as you're performing your daily habits that are aligned with your life vision, as you're doing your best to become the expression of your life vision and be that, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your results. So we do this quarterly because we set quarterly goals. So at the end of each quarter, we sit down and see how do we do and what do we want to accomplish next quarter. And you need to understand whether or not you're getting farther or closer to your life vision. We track our goals, and you guys, we set usually 5 or 6 goals for the quarter, and I usually achieve 3 or 4 of them, right? So it's very, I think last quarter I actually got them all, but that's very seldom that happens. You just do your best, and it pushes your life forward. As far as my daily habits, if I can perform a month of my daily habits at about a 75% level, I'm super happy about that. 70, 80 would be a big win for me. David Seisel, he's the only guy in the world that can do 100, but he's German. That's how he does it. He's like, he's got that. And so what you want to do is you and then you want to measure your overall personal growth. We've got Lifebook's Introspect Assessment that scores you across the 12 categories. We take that assessment once a quarter, just to make sure you're not falling behind on anything major. That makes sure that nothing's going to be left to chance, nothing's going to be left out or falling behind.
Or if you chose like a goal that didn't end up panning out and it's not making you happy, or it's just something that you outgrew, that happens.
Yep, kick it out.
You got to get rid of it. I mean, the idea is don't be too rigid about your goal setting. You have to get in the game, to like set your intentions. But then it's like we're living a fluid existence, you guys. You know, it's organic. Life is organic. So you have to be able to move and bend and change. And don't beat yourself up for choosing the wrong goal and then getting to halfway down and like, man, not doing that one. Sometimes we just mark them off.
Yeah.
See, that's not the one we're going to do now.
And you can see the masculine feminine dynamic here. The masculine dynamic is the structure. You've got to have the structure. The feminine dynamic is working inside that structure and expressing yourself and finding the mysteries and the unexpected opportunities, right? So that's what this system allows you to do. So that's pretty much our 5 steps to really manifesting a very well-defined life vision.
So John, I'd like to ask one final question.
Yes, my
this comes from Ini Salfo, who's in the audience. Ini, would you stand if you're in the room?
There she is.
Oh, it's just so bright, I can't see you.
I know.
Yeah, it helps if
See
you
you
don't
down
stand
there.
directly under the light. So Ini said, how do you stay committed to your vision when you're going through like dark, painful moments?
Yeah, that's tough. Well, the answer is purpose.
Yeah.
100% purpose. If you have a strong enough purpose, you will climb any mountain, you will cover any distance, you will cross any barrier. Nothing will be able to stop you. You might have a bad day or two where you just really don't want to get up out of bed and your feet don't feel like moving, but it does come down to your purpose and your commitment.
And it's okay. Like, I think that one of the things that happens when we get in one of those bad, low states is the danger is to stay there. You just keep beating yourself up and saying, man, I'm such a loser. And that self-talk, you go down, down, down. I think that it is purpose, but it's also just stopping the negative flow, if you can. And that comes down to, for me, it's gratitude. It's like if you can shower yourself and pour yourself into gratitude or pour gratitude into yourself.
That gets you back on track.
It helps you get back on track. Yeah.
Thank you, John and Missy.
Oh,
Any
so
final
good to-
parting words of advice for the audience?
Well,
We love you guys, and
Yes.
we love being here with this amazing. I mean, I feel like we've really found our tribe.
For sure.
You guys vibrate as such.
well, I want to invite everybody here because John and I are going to do a very special event in March at our house. Right? Really, it's going to be our last hurrah. For
The last time
Lifebook.
we
The last time John and I
facilitate,
facilitate, and we haven't facilitated in years. And we're going to come back in March, and we're going to facilitate a session in our home that we're leaving. We're moving to Hawaii. You guys heard us say that.
So this is the beautiful house that was featured in Oprah,
Chicago,
the one in
yeah.
Chicago.
The one
We're
you saw
keeping
in-
that, and we're turning that into a retreat center. It's going to be a place of healing and gathering and knowledge and creativity. And so to kick that off, that we're going to call the sanctuary, we're going to do a 5-day live book session, and we're offering it to you guys. So there's only a few
Come visit
spots.
us.
Go talk
You'll
to
never
David if
regret
you
it.
want to come. It would be an
I just want
incredible
to say
experience.
something about that. It took me a really long time to get John and Missy to A-Fest, and as soon as they came into the tribe, they started coming back
Exactly.
to like multiple
We're like, we
A-Fests.
love these people.
Yeah.
But in 2013 or 2012, we did an A-Fest in Mexico. Now, back then, I couldn't get John and Missy to A-Fest, right? So they sent someone from their team because they were busy conquering the world and looking gorgeous doing it. So I sent someone from the team, and we did a 3-hour session on Lifebook, and 10% of all the A-Festers signed up for Lifebook, including Lisa Nichols. So they did a series of like batches, so like 35 A-Festers at a time, just these A-Fester sessions. And I remember Lisa Nichols attended one of those sessions.
Yeah.
A lot of the facilitators went as well. And years later, Lisa was moving house, and you guys all know who Lisa Nichols is, right?
Yes.
So Lisa was moving house, and Lisa said, I got to tell you a really cool story. So I was driving. I had the U-Haul truck behind me with all of my possessions, and on the passenger seat was just one thing, right? It was my Lifebook. And so to Lisa, it became one of her most precious moments. Now, back then, when A-Festers did Lifebook, it was done with a facilitator. What John and Missy are saying is that they're doing it, which is a whole different experience. I didn't even do it with John and Missy. I
Right.
did it with facilitators. So this is like really something they're doing. One
Come
last
hang
time,
out with
as
us
they
at our
move-
house.
That's it.
Since you guys are moving to Hawaii. So if you want to know more about it, just go up to David. David will give you all the information. David, are you somewhere here?
Where are you,
Where's
David?
Back
David, why don't you
there,
just
there
quickly
he is.
run up, dance on stage so everybody would notice you.
Guys,
Run, David, run. I know you're a runner.
I do have one more thing to say, and that is that what you're doing here.
Thanks,
There's
David. Come on stage.
Aid.
Talk
Strike
to
a
this
How you doing,
guy.
bro?
Yeah. Thank you, David.
What you're doing here, seeking self-actualization, it's like the highest, noblest thing that you could be doing. It's what the world needs now more than anything else. And it's just awesome.
It's beautiful. Nice. I would say one more thing, you guys, since you're here and some of you are new, get an accountability partner. Make an accountability partner connection at this A-Fest and see how far you can take your life, because having an accountability partner is a whole different level
That's true.
of accountability. I mean, that's the thing. It really
Weekly
keeps you in
calls,
check.
maybe a monthly call. How you doing? Did you keep your commitments from last month? What
It'll
are your
help
commitments
you
for this
really
month? It's
achieve your goals.
huge. One of the biggest
Yeah.
personal development strategies you can put
Right
in
on.
place. Go out there and crush it, you guys. Have the best 2019 ever.
Thank you, John and
Okay,
Missy.
Thanks.
Stand up, please.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Please give a big round of applause to John and Missy.